Redeemed, rehabilitated, and real entertaining. This is the Carl Jackson Podcast.
All right, welcome to the Carl Jackson Show podcast. This is your daily dose of objective truth in a world of confusion and lies. Guys, I've got an amazing interview lined up for you today. Dr. Sebastian Gorka, you guys know him, nationally syndicated radio host, host of his own Newsmax TV show, the former deputy assistant to none other than the president or former president of the United States, Donald Trump. Dr. Sebastian Gorka, welcome to the Carl Jackson Show podcast.
Thanks for having me, my friend.
Absolutely. Okay, Dr. Gorka, let me do this. Let me get to this. Is if you don't mind, I'm just going to go rapid fire here. I know you're a brilliant mind. You're a brilliant political analyst and strategist. So I'm just going to, in a short period of time, I'm just going to go through as many questions as possible. But the first question that I'd like to get to is, let's say that I want to pick off wild boar from 500 yards away. What rifle should I be looking for? Bolt action. Give me your recommendation.
Bolt action. Oh,
yes.
Man. Right. I'm a big fan of the new Springfield 2020 American and in 6.5 Creedmoor. If you want to go old school, if you want to go like military, the Enfield, the British Lee Enfield, the Mauser 98K. But if you want top of the line, carbon fiber, super lightweight, go for the 2020 American from Springfield.
Man, I love it. All right. Thank you. All right. Now that we've got that out of the way. All right, let's go here. Obviously, the news for today, you had your former boss on CNN last night. Obviously, he went into the Lion's Den. Biden would obviously not do that. I think it was a brilliant move by Trump. But what's your take on that, Dr. Gorka?
Yeah, I didn't talk, excuse me. I didn't talk to the comms team about this decision, and I was a little bit perplexed with the decision to do this. But after the result yesterday, oh my. When you've got everybody from AOC to Rick Wilson of the Lincoln Project melting down, you know it was an utter victory. He made Caitlin Collins look like a biased little hack, a little shrew who hates him. And the interactions with the audience were great, especially if you haven't seen it. Go to my Twitter feed, go to my Facebook page, look at President Trump's interaction with the audience after the broadcast ended. It was just majestic. It was super fun. It was like a rally.
You know, honestly, speaking of that chick, Caitlin Collins, I am so glad he called her out. She was so nasty, so mean, just the antithesis of professionalism. Absolutely disgusting. So I hope a lot of people picked up on that. Just real quickly, some of the reasons why I thought it was brilliant. Obviously, a lot of people on the left would argue, or they might argue, hey, Biden is old, and that's why he's so bad. But Trump is old, too. I think that's gone away. This ageism stuff has gone away. Obviously, the New Hampshire primaries, Biden is trying to skirt past them, go to South Carolina first. You have the Republican legislature that stood up and said, no, we're going to move our primary up. So that's why I thought it was a good move by Trump. And then I just think it was a good idea to remind voters, especially in New Hampshire, independent, moderates, and the like, who he is compared to Joe Biden. So that's why I like the move, frankly.
No, I think it could not have been better, whether it was his answers on Ukraine, whether it was his answers on energy, or whether it was once again demonstrating for us the complete moral bankruptcy of the mainstream media like CNN. I mean, it was a win all round.
Good point. Absolutely love that. All right, Dr. Gorka, I am convinced. I know some people don't want to talk about it, but I am convinced, as you know, and Dr. Gorka came down here to Central Florida and participated with myself and American adversaries, Christopher Hart, and our people at AM 950, The Answer 94.9 FM, and the Freedom Expo. It was a really good time at Seminole Harley Davidson, so we really appreciate you coming down, Dr. Gorka. I have the same concern, or I'll mention one of the same concerns. If we don't fix our election system, I don't think anything else matters. We can talk about the big issues of the day, in which we will, because I want to get your take on that. But how important is it for us, those of us on the right, to make sure that our elections are secure and make sure we fight like hell everywhere we can to ensure that happens?
Yeah, and thanks for those really thoughtful questions that you asked at the event last weekend. Yeah, I mean, these are, as I think I said from the stage there, I have two serious concerns about 2024. Number one is personnel. If we win, we can't have saboteurs, traitors like General John Kelly inside the wire, sabotaging and undermining the president from inside the administration. So, all the 4,000 positions the president gets to appoint have to be patriots, have to be people who believe in the will of the electorate and not, deep staters like General Kelly. But before we get to that, we have to win. And you may not like it as a conservative. I don't like it that, I live in a Commonwealth where the governor is allegedly a Republican. And in Virginia, there are 45 days of voting. 45 days.
That's insane. That is insane.
So, I like going to the ballot box on the day of the election. But like the president said recently in one of his truth videos, one of his Truth Social videos, in those states where the rhinos are too weak or where we don't hold the state house and we can't change the election laws, we have to out-organize the Democrats. Where it's legal, we have to ballot harvest. And look, let's be clear. I told the story in Seminole at the Harley-Davidson dealership for our Freedom Expo. My wife detests politics, but where was she during the last election? She got up at 3:30 in the morning and came home at 10 at night. Why? Because she was the chief election officer in our district in Virginia. And I guarantee you that nobody stole a ballot in the district where my wife, Katie Gorka, was the chief election officer. So if you're not engaged, if you're not running for office, or you're not an election official, then you don't deserve to bitch and moan if we lose. Do something. Get off your backside and be part of the solution.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like everybody's got to step up. I mean, myself included. I thought I did some in 2022. I'm looking back and I'm like, man, I could have done a lot more. I look back in 2020, I was registering voters. Not everybody is going to have the name recognition of a Dr. Gorka or some of the big name hosts that we have, but everybody can go out and do something in your local community. I mean, that's where we have to take back these governments. So I'm going to go out and register voters. That's something that I'm intending to do, and we've all got to step up to the plate in some way, shape, or form. So I appreciate you bringing that message. Dr. Gorka, you mentioned something, and I want to go back to it. And personnel is policy, and you've already spoken on that briefly, but I want to go back to that. If personnel is policy, and Trump gets back into the White House, or another Republican gets into the White House, but I'm pretty confident that it would be Trump. But he gets back into the White House. As far as personnel, what personnel can he not afford to get wrong? Speaking of leadership.
Oh, I don't think you want to get any of them wrong. So every key position. Look, some departments we want to get rid of. So who you put in place at the Department of Education or Agriculture is kind of moot, because they should be there to close those departments down, really. But the most important of all, the most corrupt agency, the most corrupt department in America is the DOJ. So justice has to be ripped apart piece by piece. And it's very telling. It's very telling that of all the massive corruption scandals in the 6 years, whether it's the CIA, the FBI, whether it's any IRS, which agency has had no whistleblowers? The DOJ. The DOJ is a hive of corruption that has been weaponized as a police organ of the Democrat Party. So I won't say where doesn't it matter. I will say where it matters most, and that is the intelligence services and the DOJ and the FBI. The FBI, by the way, which I totally concur with my buddy Dan Bongino, has to be dismantled. The FBI is irretrievable. It is unsalvageable. When you've got the FBI raiding Mar-a-Lago or raiding, a pro-life preacher's home, you can't fix that by changing the management on the 7th floor of the Hoover Building. It's three core missions of counterterrorism, counterintelligence, and federal crime have to be parceled off to other agencies like the U.S. Marshals, and it has to be taken down brick by brick.
You know what's what's amazing and difficult about having a person like Dr. Sebastian Gorka as a guest. So I've got a litany of questions that I want to ask him in rapid fire. He goes off on an answer and he answers several of them, and I'm like, doggone it.
I'm trying to save you some time, dude.
That's the benefit of having him on. Hey, let me do this real quick because I didn't mention Mike Lindell of MyPillow. Guys, please, Mike Lindell, a fabulous patriot, also providing American jobs, American manufacturing, American products. Right now, there's a deal out for my listeners. If you go to mypillow.com, click on the radio listener square at the top of the page, enter my name, Carl, C-A-R-L, or you can give them a call if you prefer, 800-858-0263. There's a buy one, get one free. Yes, I use the F word. Buy one, get one free offer on the new MyPillow 2.0. It has the same patented adjusted feel as the original MyPillow, but now it has this temperature regulating thread surrounding the pillow that makes it softer, smoother, and cooler, so you get an even better night's rest. Comes with a 10-year warranty, 60-day money-back guarantee. You cannot beat that with a bat. And again, you're supporting a patriot and you're providing American jobs, American manufacturing. Mike Lindell at MyPillow, mypillow.com, promo code Carl. All right, let's get back to it.
I'm going to use that phrase. You can't beat that with a bat. I'm going to steal that. I like that.
Okay, it's yours. It's yours. All right, so we're speaking to my guest, Dr. Sebastian Gorka, nationally syndicated radio host, also has his own television program on Newsmax, former deputy assistant to former President Donald Trump. Chris asked you this question on the stage, Christopher Hart of the American Adversaries. I actually asked you the question the year before, but not on stage. If Donald Trump calls you back to service, what do you do, Dr. Gorka?
I have a very intense conversation with my wife. Look, being asked to work in the White House, the most powerful building in the world, isn't an honor. It is an honor and a duty. So if he did that, of course, I say yes. It would be troublesome for a moment, given what my wife and my children had to go through when I was in the White House last time. But the stakes are so gargantuan, the stakes couldn't be more serious, that if there was a job that the president thought I could do or was the right person for, it's not an option. You just do it, Carl.
I love that. You know what's amazing, too, Dr. Gorka? You're a legal immigrant. You come into the United States from Europe, obviously. I mean,
I got in line and I waited.
Yes, and we'll get to the border in just a second, but it's got to be an amazing feeling when you sit back and think about it. Honestly, how I believe, I'm a person of faith, how God has used you and put you in positions in the highest levels of government somewhat rapidly. Do you ever just sit back and like, my God, this is amazing?
I don't do that until my 23-year-old son. Last year, we're just hanging outside having a cigar, and my son, and this is when you realize, you can be too much in the forest and not see the trees. He said, "Dad, I'm so proud of what you've achieved." And then it's like a hammer in the face. What did my son just say? Wow. And the fact is, if I think about it, I only came here in 2008. I only became a citizen in 2012, and I waited in line to become a citizen. I paid my dues. I took the test, and I took the oath to the U.S. Constitution. And then the freaky thing is, the day after the inauguration in 2017, it may have been a Saturday, January the 21st. I said, well, I don't care if it's a Saturday. I'm on the clock, and I'm going to go to work. And I rolled in an unmarked vehicle driven by a black female U.S. Army sergeant through the gate, through the security, into the West Wing, got my badge, and I'm walking around, I've picked my office and what have you. And then, Carl, I'm getting the shivers right now saying this. I realized that I'm an immigrant who'd only recently become an American citizen, and I'm deputy to the president. That doesn't happen. Forget about me. That doesn't happen in any other country. If you don't have the right accent, if you didn't go to the right school, that doesn't happen in England, that doesn't happen in France. You can probably buy yourself into that position in other countries in the world. But in America, the only country where that can happen, because, you know, the American dream, whilst people are trying to dismantle it and destroy it in the White House now, the American dream is still real, and we have to protect it.
Man, good stuff, Dr. Gorka. Again, I'm speaking with Dr. Sebastian Gorka. Doctor, before I go forward, I want to make sure that people find you everywhere you are on social media and your website. So please mention that if you would.
I'm everywhere except on YouTube, because they're a bunch of fascists. So just use Seb Gorka or Sebastian Gorka. I'm on True Social, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Telegram. I've got my own Substack if you want my exclusive content. That's Sebastian Gorka, one word, sebastiangorka.substack.com. We've got a website, sebastiangorka.com. And of course, we actually stream the radio show as a video live every day. You can go to Rumble to watch us, which is the free speech alternative to YouTube. Or you can watch us on the Salem News app. You can actually watch us on your TV, on your Roku or Fire Stick. So except for YouTube, I am coming out of the faucet everywhere. It should not be hard for you to find me. Oh, and my last book you should check out, because sadly it's more relevant than ever, is The War for America's Soul.
You know, it's frustrating. I didn't realize that the station would have some. I purchased your book, and it came. I wanted to get you to autograph it, and it came a day after.
Why didn't you tell me? We had stacks of them there, dude. All right, I'm mailing. You text me an address after this interview, and we'll mail you one from the DC studios.
All right. Thank you. I appreciate that, Dr. Gorka. Really do appreciate that. Okay. So we have a short period of time left with Dr. Sebastian Gorka. I want to run through some questions here really fast. We talked about the amputation, if you will, of the deep state, or at least that's how I'm framing it. I want to go back to that really quickly. We talked about the FBI. Dr. Gorka, if I share my story, I mean, honestly, God has done some amazing things in my life. I was a common little punk behind thug, getting in trouble with the law before God radically saved my life. I used the system, if you will, to not only get my freedom, but eventually I fought for custody of my daughter in a different court system here in the United States. The rule of law is extremely important to me. And one of the things that I fear most is what we see happening with the DOJ, or underneath the DOJ, the FBI, the J6 protesters that are being held as political prisoners. I'll be frank with you. That is one of the scariest things I could ever imagine, is if you're in the United States of America and you don't get the privileges that are outlined in the Constitution. Speak to that, if you would.
Yeah, this is a tough one for me. This is personal. So before I joined the Trump administration, my wife and I had a company that had the only external contract to provide Al-Qaeda and ISIS training to the FBI. So I was traveling the country like 20,000 miles a month, going from field office to field office. And I trained, and I mean, this isn't a joke. You can look up the figures. I have their names and email addresses. I trained thousands of FBI agents, intelligence analysts, and SOS support staff. So for me, it was a big deal wherever I landed. The supervisory special agent would meet me, greet me, give me the challenge coin from that field office, give me the little pin, and I'd proudly change them out. And the next time I went on a trip, I would fly the FBI flag. If the FBI knocked on my door this morning, Carl, I would say, screw you, go and talk to my attorney. Go and talk to my attorneys. Why? I think you do the same as I would have done in Philadelphia. When a pro-life pastor, father of 7, has an abusive, pro-death, pro-abortion lunatic at a Planned Parenthood clinic, screaming and swearing at his 12-year-old son, when that man, Mark Houck, pushes that lunatic away from his son, is charged with a misdemeanor assault, which is then quashed, which is thrown out of a local court. But the DOJ under Biden decides, we don't care that he was cleared because he was protecting his child. We're going to send a team of 20 FBI agents in body armor with M4s, and we're going to raid his house in front of his children. If you had been given that order, Carl, I know what you would have done. You would have done what I would have done. You would have taken your FBI badge and your gun, you would have given it to the ASAC and said, screw you, I'm not your Gestapo, I resign. The fact that forget that Hannity keeps going on about, it's only the rotten apples at the top. BS. If you're the FBI agent who actually executes that warrant, you are scum. You are the Gestapo. So this is heartbreaking for me, and I share your concern, but it's not just the FBI and the DOJ, it's the judges. We have judges.
Yes.
I mean, read the transcripts. What Julie Kelly is writing at American Greatness about the January 6th trial, when judges are forcing these defendants, who in some cases have not seen a trial for 2 years, which is illegal, to say in court, I believe, yes, Biden is the legitimate president. That's a show trial, Carl. What's going on? Is this North Korea? That's happening in America, and that's going to take a long time to fix.
And I hope those of you that might be tuning in that are listening to this, if you're Democrat, independent, moderate, listen, and I'll be frank, I think the Democrat Party is a communist party. I just think it's been co-opted. But I want you to understand, you may look at the J6 protesters, and by the way, there were attacks on the Capitol by left-wingers that no one talks about, but that were way worse, frankly. But having said that, imagine if the shoe is on the other foot. You're putting jail for trespassing, and you can't even get a freaking bond hearing. So you may hate Trump, you may hate Republicans and conservatives, but just imagine if the shoe is on the other foot. We have to start thinking in these terms. Going back to amputations, fascist Fauci, the CDC, the NIH, the FDA, a lot of these bureaucracies, Dr. Gorka, I believe do not need to exist. I believe the left used COVID, and I believe they're using climate change with the Department of Energy in order to impose an authoritarian government on us. I think we got to get rid of more than just the FBI. What do you say to that?
Totally. My wife and I, she was a presidential appointee at the Department of Homeland Security. We were debating on a road trip about a week ago, how much could you slash federal government by and make no difference to the safety of America? And we came up with probably 50%. We could probably get rid of half of government and we would be fine. If you look at, Fauci was earning $400,000 a year. That's almost twice what the president of the United States earns. When you look at the waste, when you look at the corruption, these agencies like agriculture, education, those should be done away with. And the fact that the NIH, if you look at yesterday's news, is still funding EcoHealth to do gain-of-function research on novel coronaviruses, you go, stop the insanity, shut these people down. So President Trump has to come back in. We have to get him back into the White House, and he has to use a flamethrower on the corruption in this city.
Dr. Gorka, I don't know if you've done a segment or two on the issue that government could be sliced by 50%, but I hope you will. I think a lot of people need to hear it from, especially with a person of your authority. I think they need to hear how it could be done. I've been reading articles of some things that could be done, but I'm just, I'm Carl Jackson. I'm moving up the ladder, but I'm Carl Jackson. You're Dr. Sebastian Gorka. You're going to have a much bigger impact. That's just a fact. So I hope that you would consider doing a segment or two on that issue specifically, because more people need to hear it, frankly. I'll just be frank. I get so pissed. I'm a blue collar worker, Dr. Gorka. I'm going to leave here. I'm going to go work with my hands. I own a business where I work with my hands. I hope to make it into this business full time one day, and I'm working my way there. But man, I get so pissed because I feel like the American dream is just being stolen away from the working class, from the blue collar worker. When these bureaucracies can circumvent the will of the people, honestly, it just pisses me off that more people do not get it. It just, sorry, that's just a rant. It just frustrates me to no end. So I want to see more amputations of this deep state. All right, just a couple more questions. I know you got to go, Dr. Gorka, but it's just an honor, privilege to have you on. I love having your mind on. I got to speak to this E. Jean Carroll thing. I think this E. Jean Carroll thing. Oh, and Tucker Carlson. I got to get your take on that. I think the Tucker Carlson thing is bad for Fox, great for people like me, frankly, because I think more people will start searching for alternative media. E. Jean Carroll, I believe what's happening there, I mean, obviously it's despicable. I personally, my opinion, I think she's a liar. I've been the victim of 2 violent crimes. I can tell you they happened over 20 years ago. I can remember in painstaking detail what happened, Dr. Gorka. So I personally believe the lady is a liar, but I think there's something else that's going on here. I think the goal is to try and divorce suburban moms from Trump. I think that's the goal here. Your take.
Well, I literally just before the show yesterday, I published my latest piece on Substack. Just a very brief take on the peculiarities of this case when it comes to the quote-unquote victim, the accuser, the timing, the verdict, and the backer. So those 4 things tell you everything you need to know. And you don't have to put conditional tenses and caveats on your statement that you think she's a liar. The jury decided she's a liar. Let's remember, he was accused of liability for rape and defamation because he denied he raped this woman, who, by the way, on CNN, if you look at my Twitter feed, said, Gorka, you'll see the video, the very weird video where in front of Anderson Cooper, she says, most people think rape is sexy, and you're a really neat guy, Anderson. It is creepy. This woman is just creepy. So here's a couple of things. The accusation was rape. And if you read the verdict from the jury like I did, they found him not guilty. They found President Trump not guilty, which means they didn't believe her story. But it's Manhattan, so they don't like Trump. They hate Trump. So they say, we don't buy it, but how can we punish him? Oh, yeah, let's say he sexually assaulted her and he owes her $5 million in damages for defaming her. Do you know what that means? That means President Trump didn't commit rape, but is being punished to the tune of $5 million for defaming her because he didn't rape her. It's bizarro world. It is utterly bizarre. And then 2 more things that tell you this is just a political hack job. This happened almost 30 years ago. There's no way to prosecute this. The code is clear when it comes to statute of limitations, except if you're Kathy Hochul, and last year you bring a law for 12, this is the creep, this is the most cynical thing. She brings the Adult Survivors Act, which scrubs the statute of limitations for sexual assault, but for 12 months. It's gonna actually grandfather, it's gonna sunset this Thanksgiving. So they brought a law just for E. Jean Carroll so they could resurrect like a zombie this allegation from 30 years ago. And then you find out the kill shot. Who's funding her lawyers? Who's funding E. Jean Carroll? Oh, Reid Hoffman, the billionaire founder of LinkedIn who hates President Trump. It's like Soros and Alvin Bragg. This is just a political hit piece. You're right. This has nothing to do with justice, nothing to do with rape victims. This is about making sure President Trump can't run for the presidency because he is the biggest threat to the communists and socialists in this country.
Okay, I'm speaking to Dr. Sebastian Gorka. Last couple of questions, I promise here, Doctor, but I would be remiss if I didn't touch on the border crisis that the Biden administration has caused. Obviously, Title 42 is coming to an end. And this snuck into the news yesterday, Dr. Gorka. The Biden administration is also reinstituting the Remain in Mexico policy, although they're not calling it that. If they're reinstituting the Remain in Mexico policy, isn't that an admission that their policies suck and that Trump's policies were right? I can't stand these idiots, but they get away with this crap.
Yeah, the sad thing is they're not idiots.
Did we freeze?
Are you there?
Yeah, true.
Are you there?
Yes. Can you hear
the
me?
sad thing is they're not idiots. They're evil. I think Mayorkas, the Secretary of Homeland Security, is probably the most evil person in the administration because he served at DHS before. He knows what he's doing. He was in there during the Obama administration. He knows that when you are allowing 6 million illegals into America in 2 years, what you are actually seeing is millions of women and children being abused and raped. What you are seeing is tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of people who will be killed, will be murdered by fentanyl. In the last 12 months, it was 110,000 in America. So this is absolutely evil. Are they admitting it? Well, there might be a crescendo. There might be a point at which they realize that this is going to lose them votes. If you're a legal immigrant to America, especially if you're a Hispanic legal immigrant to America, what do you think? What do you think of what you're witnessing? Who's gonna lose their job because of the 6 million people coming in illegally? It's not you. It's not me. We're going to be fine. It's the guy who waited 5 years, came in legally. He's got a service job. He's got a manual job, working in bussing tables, fixing cars, and then along comes an illegal and says to this guy's boss, "Hey, I'll do Jose's job for cash for 50%. What do you think of that?" Right? You're
Right.
killing
Right.
the people you say you care for because you want votes. It is the most cynical thing happening in America today.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that answer. You're absolutely right. Destroying the working class. Frankly, I see it in my own service business where it's insane. That's exactly what happens. Frankly, okay. The China threat, Ukraine. I want to get your take on this. Taiwan. Listen, I know that a lot of people argue, whatever. There's different stances on the issue. I know Biden is corrupt. I believe Zelensky is corrupt. I believe Vladimir Putin is evil and corrupt. But nonetheless, that doesn't. The fact is that we're fighting a proxy war in Ukraine. The world is watching. I'm concerned that there could be a World War III because we have such a feckless person sitting inside of the White House. So let me get your take on Ukraine, Ukraine and Russia, and China and Taiwan. We've got to be able to stop aggression towards Taiwan. In my opinion, I'm not convinced that we can do it while this zombie is in the White House.
Well, the world will continue to burn while we have this person as the commander in chief. When it comes to the war in Ukraine, even if the government in Kiev is corrupt, that's actually irrelevant. What patriot doesn't believe the government in Washington is corrupt? So, okay, sure. The government in Washington is corrupt. Does that mean that China can roll its tanks down Constitutional Avenue? Of course it doesn't. Come on, guys. Even if the system is corrupt, that doesn't justify a KGB colonel rolling his tanks into an independent country and shelling maternity clinics. Let's be clear. This is evil. This is invasion of an independent state. An independent state that wasn't threatened by NATO, wasn't threatened by Ukraine. Ukraine was 22nd in military power to Russia, which ranked second in the world. Russia, by the way, which has more than 5,000 nuclear warheads. So, sorry, the non-nuclear Ukraine that's 20 positions lower than you somehow threatens you. This is a power grab. He's a bully. And the only way you deal with bullies is you punch him in the nose. And that's what Ukraine is doing. I am not in favor of sending, billions of dollars in cash to a corrupt country, but we should be helping them. We should be giving them weapons. We should be giving them ammunition and training. Why? Here's a little thing for any conservative out there. Do you believe in 1776? Do you think the war of the Revolutionary War was important, the spirit of the founding? Well, guess what? If the French, the Dutch, and the Spanish hadn't assisted the founding fathers and the revolutionaries, this country would not be a country. It would be still part of the British Empire. Foreign nations made our independence possible. So it is right and just that we help others fight for their independence. That's my take. If 1776 is important to you, so should the fight for an independent Ukraine.
Dr. Gorka, I mean, honestly, this has been a great interview. I love picking your mind. Oh, one last thing. Trans issue, cultural Marxism. I do want to get your take on that, because obviously it's being used as a tool to get people all hyped up so the left can usher in bigger authoritarian power. But Dylan Mulvaney, all this kind of crap that's going on. Your take?
I don't know if I have, rose-tinted spectacles, but and please read the seminal work here, James Lindsay's Cynical Theories, to understand where this comes from. I think this is going to be the red pill for America. I think tens of millions of Americans who aren't political are going to say, what? Boston Children's Hospital is, doing double mastectomies on healthy young girls. They're castrating young boys in the name of transgenderism. I think this will be the wake-up call for Americans, and this could win us the next election if we're smart.
You think the Hunter Biden story will? CIA, FBI, all colluding with the Biden administration in order to hand Biden the victory in 2020? In my opinion, do you think that's going to have the effect that, I hope it has an effect, but you think that'll do it? You think people are even paying attention?
The Coma press conference was a disaster. Nobody walked away from that more intelligent about the corruption of the Biden administration. It was like a bunch of amateurs. There will be no judicial or criminal consequences as long as the DOJ is not in the hands of an uncorrupt administration. But we need to get the information out there. So, as long as people like John Solomon are out there, Dan Bongino and others, the truth will get out. And it'll be a factor, but I think the trans thing will be bigger.
All right. Dr. Sebastian Gorka, please check out his work. You can listen to him, obviously, on the with Salem Media Group, nationally syndicated host on Newsmax television. You're on Sunday evenings at 7. Is that
10
correct,
p.m.
Dr.
Eastern
Gorka?
on Newsmax.
All right, 7 and 10 p.m. Eastern on Newsmax. You can follow him on Twitter at Seb Gorka. All right, so check him out. Listen to what this man has to say. I appreciate the fact that you never have to guess where Dr. Sebastian Gorka stands. And I think that's really important during these times, whether you agree on some issues or disagree. I think honest debate and honest intellectuals, it's extremely crucial to the vitality of America. So, Dr. Gorka, I certainly appreciate you. God bless you for everything you do.
Thank you, Carl.
Thank you. All right, guys, again, I hope you enjoyed that interview with Dr. Sebastian Gorka. Guys, please subscribe to our podcast wherever you go to get your podcast. We're on Apple, Google, Spotify, iHeart, you name it, wherever you go to get your podcast. Follow me on all things social media, The Carl Jackson Show. We're on Facebook. We're on Instagram. We're on Twitter. We're on Truth Social. We're on Getter. Please, wherever you are on social media, The Carl Jackson Show is where you can find me. I think at Getter and Twitter, it's at Carl Jackson Show. Please subscribe to our YouTube and Rumble channels. We really want to build our subscription base there. The podcast will come right to your inbox. We're not asking you for money, any of that kind of stuff, but it'll help us to grow, frankly. Especially if you rate and review it, give us a 5. And again, please subscribe. It'll be a blessing to us and hopefully to the country. My goal is to speak to the working class and to deal with topics and issues that are going to hurt and going to hit the working class Americans, blue collar Americans. So, guys, I appreciate you tuning in to this edition of the Carl Jackson Show podcast. Don't forget our sponsor, Mike Lindell, MyPillow.com. Take advantage of the buy one, get one free offer, MyPillow.com, promo code Carl. And until next time, do not grow weary doing good. God bless you.